In the world of digital security, something massive has shifted. For decades, we thought we knew where the walls were, where the bad guys would attack. But as AI gets woven into pretty much everything we do, that old perimeter it's vanishing. And it's reappearing in a place none of us really expected. So let's dive in and really break down what this new front line looks like.
Think about it. For decades, security looked just like the picture on the left. A big, strong castle with a moat around it. You had predictable walls, clear entry points. It was kind of simple, right? But today, the real front line looks a lot more like the image on the right. It's not a wall at all. It's a conversation. That simple little prompt box is the new perimeter. And that, right there, changes everything.
Okay, so why is that old castle and moat model just not cutting it anymore? Let's get into why those familiar, comfortable walls are starting to feel like they're crumbling in this new age of AI.
Well, that old model, the castle, it worked for a really simple reason. Our systems were predictable. Software followed a set of fixed rules, data moved in expected ways, and the boundaries between inside and outside were crystal clear. Our defenses were built for a world that basically made sense.
But here's the thing, AI doesn't play that game. It's not trying to knock down the walls with a battering ram. No, it's much smarter. Think of it more like a super smooth spy who can literally talk their way right past the guards. It uses natural language, it learns, it adapts, it operates in ways our old defenses weren't even designed to see, let alone stop.
So why is it so complex? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. First, AI is dynamic. It's not static. It's constantly learning and changing. Second, attacks can come from anywhere now. The prompt you type in, the data it was trained on, or even the model itself. And maybe the wildest part, emergent properties. This is where an AI starts doing things we never even programmed it to do. How do you secure that? There's just no simple off switch for that kind of unpredictability.
And all of this brings us to the absolute core idea we're talking about today. The whole battle for security has fundamentally shifted. It's moved away from the edge of the network and zeroed in on the AI's input prompt.
I mean, this quote just nails it. It's a total mindset shift. Every single interaction, every question you ask an AI is now a potential security event. The conversation itself is the new front door, and we have to start guarding it like one.
Okay, so the big question is, how on earth do we defend this new conversational perimeter? Well, the interesting thing is, before we start inventing a bunch of brand new tools, we've got to go back to basics. We need to apply some timeless, battle-tested security wisdom to this whole new game.
First up, defense in depth. The core idea here is super simple. There is no magic bullet. You can't just have one big wall and hope for the best. Against a threat as adaptive as AI, you need multiple overlapping layers of protection. That way, if one of your defenses fails, another one is right there to catch the problem. It's all about creating a system that's resilient, not just rigid.
All right, next up we've got zero trust. And the motto here is as simple as it is powerful. Never trust, always verify. When you're dealing with an AI that can literally change its own behavior, you can't just assume any request is safe. Every single interaction, no matter how small, has to prove it's allowed to be there. Every single time.
And this brings us to what might be the most important one for AI, the principle of least privilege. Basically, you give an AI agent the absolute bare minimum access it needs to do its job, and not an ounce more. This is huge because it dramatically shrinks the blast radius. If something does go wrong and the agent gets compromised, the damage is contained.
So that's the theory. But how do we actually turn these old-school principles into something practical for AI? Well, we use them to build what we call guardrails. Think of them as smart, flexible boundaries that keep the AI operating safely without completely killing its innovative power.
So if you're applying that principle of least privilege to an AI, here's what it looks like in practice. First, you lock down the data it can access. Second, you strictly limit the tools and functions it's allowed to use. And third, you filter every single thing it tries to output. What you're really doing is building a super tight, super secure sandbox for the AI to operate in. It can do its job, but it can't wander off and cause trouble.
These guardrails take a few different forms. So think of input validation like a bouncer at a club. It's checking every single prompt at the door to make sure it's not malicious. Content filtering, that's your editor, making sure the AI doesn't say or create anything harmful or inappropriate. And finally, behavioral constraints. These are the non-negotiable, hard-coded rules of the road. They define exactly what the AI is and is not allowed to do. Period.
But here's the catch.
You can't just build these guardrails, walk away, and call it a day. That's not going to work. AI security is not a one-time setup. It demands constant, never-ending vigilance.
And here's the really tricky part about AI. See, unlike regular software that just sits there until you update it, an AI can, well, it can drift. As it keeps learning from new data, its behavior can subtly change, and in the process, it can accidentally open up brand new security holes that weren't there yesterday.
So what this means is you need a constant cycle of evaluation. It never stops. You're monitoring it in real time. You're constantly evaluating its performance. You're actively hunting for new threats. And this is key. You have automated responses ready to kick in the instant something looks off.
Okay, let's take a step back and pull all of this together now. We've covered principles, guardrails, and monitoring. So what does a complete, layered blueprint for AI security actually look like from the ground up?
It all starts at the bottom. Layer 1, the secure infrastructure foundation. I'm talking about your APIs, your databases, your networks. This is just good old-fashioned security hygiene. You absolutely cannot skip the basics, because if your foundation is weak, everything you build on top of it is going to crumble.
Okay, on top of that solid foundation, we add layer 2, our traditional security controls. Yes, those castle walls and moats, your firewalls, your access controls, they still absolutely have a role to play. They're a necessary layer, even if they're not enough on their own anymore.
Now we get to the new stuff. Layer 3, the AI-specific guardrails. This is where we put those bouncers and editors to work. The input validation, the output filtering. This layer is designed specifically to handle the weird, unpredictable threats that only an AI can create.
And finally, wrapping around this entire structure, we have Layer 4, that relentless cycle of continuous monitoring and evaluation. You can think of this as the living, breathing part of your security. It's the immune system that's always watching, always learning, and always adapting right alongside the AI.
So, at the end of the day, all these technical layers, the foundation, the firewalls, the guardrails, the monitoring, they all serve a much bigger, much more important goal: building what we call responsible AI. Because this isn't just about stopping hackers, it's about ensuring fairness, protecting privacy, and building systems that are transparent enough for society to actually trust them.
So let's leave you with this final thought. Your security perimeter is no longer a static wall that you build and forget about. It's a living, dynamic conversation that you have to manage, secure, and understand second by second. The real question you have to ask yourself is, are you prepared for that conversation?